So, welcome to the next session, that is the third session of 11th week, and here we are going to discuss about some other issues, and now we are moving from organizational learning to learning organization, that how an organization can become a learning organization, and then we will also discuss some of the characteristics of systems which has been developed by people related to learning organization. If you remember, we just discussed about certain issues related to organizational learning, okay? That how you move from individual learning to organizational learning, what are the enablers of organizational learning at the organizational level, how why you need to create an organizational management system or knowledge management system, and then you have to see that you adopt a systems approach to ensure that you are going to use organizational learning to create better knowledge for the organization at the organizational level, okay? Adopting knowledge management systems, and then adopt a strategy to ensure that you are going to be effective and performing well as an organization, right. So, with this we also discussed that what could be the enablers for organizational learning in terms of systems, culture, processes, leadership and these kind of things, and then you also need to bring about a change based upon the feedback. So, with this backdrop, now we are trying to move up to the next topic, that is how to become a learning organization. Okay. So, first of all we discuss about what is learning organizations, and in the next session we will talk about what does it mean to become a learning organization, what are the systems and perspectives related to learning organization, right. So, we are moving from organizational learning to organizational learning organization, right. So, OL to LO, that is how we call it, that once you adopt certain processes, then there is a possibility for you to become a learning organization. Okay. Now, one thing that I would like to tell you, that learning organization is not the end in itself. Okay. It could be an intermediate outcome. Okay. And organizational learning should be treated as a process. Okay. So, if organization is learning, then there is a possibility of it to become a learning organization, and in the process you have to continuously learn, create systems, processes, structures, so that you remain and continue to become a learning organization. Otherwise, the moment you are not learning as an organization, there is a probability that you may not become a learning organization and you stop becoming learning organization. So, that is why we say that though learning organization could be an outcome of organizational learning processes, but it is an intermediate outcome, right. So, with this introduction, we are going to start and discuss about some issues related to this one. So, as I mentioned, the first point is that organizational learning is the process of becoming a learning organization, right, which is not an end itself, but it could be an intermediate outcome. Now, so basically if you look at OL, it is you are going to engage in certain activities of learning and certain processes by which organizations are going to reach the ideal of becoming a learning organization. Okay. Now, it depends upon what kind of activities and processes you adopt as an organization, okay, through experimentation, through evaluation, through having a knowledge management systems, okay, and all kind of things which helps you to become a learning organization, right. Similarly, we call it a process, right, and through this process, if you remember, we just talked about it, that you are trying to create organizational knowledge. Okay. So, you are going to shape and build organizational knowledge system in the organization, which is going to help you to become a learning organization, and then you adopt a strategy to ensure that you are able to achieve your goals and objectives. Okay. And finally, we have to see that how they are going to be different. If you look at some of the writings, it is based on a research paper. So, some of the writings that has happened in the area of organizational learning, and then writings on the learning organizations. So, we call it a dichotomy of OL and LO. We do not call it the difference between OL and LO. Okay. It does not mean that organizational learning is something and learning organization is something else. So, one is a process which leads an organization to become a learning organization. So, it is an antecedent and it could be an outcome, right. So, some of the criteria that is used is like, what is the key question? In case of organizational learning, we have to see that how an organization learn. Okay. Learning is that how should an organization learn. So, you have learned that in order to be better and better, right. Target audience for organizational learning, basically when you try to look at it, that it is basically looked at by the academicians, in the sense that you will find papers, articles, and they try to deal or try to capture the kind of systems and process that is going to be favorable. Okay. So, it is more theoretical. But when it comes to learning organization, it is based on practice. Practice in the sense that organizations are going to adopt those systems and practices to become learning organizations, right. So, the objective here is that through organizational line learning you are trying to build theory, okay, which need to be examined, okay, to see that how organization could use these things in order to improve their performance, right. The source of information from learning comes from the data. You need to go for observations, other processes to find out how organizations are learning. Okay. Learning organizations based on consulting experience, you try to tell them, okay, this is how you can improve your behavior and performance, right. The methodology is you use certain research techniques, and here you try to use action research. Action research is based on activities. Okay, these are the things that need to be done in order to become learning organization. Or you can follow certain case studies of organizations which are doing well and performing well on a continuous basis, and see what kind of systems and practices they are adapted. So, one is deductive and one is inductive. Now, when it comes to generalization, actually you know that yes, any research result is having certain limitations in terms of generalizations, but in case of learning organizations probably try to generalize. And we say that okay, if you are going to adopt these systems and practices, all kind of organizations are going to be learning organizations, but that is not correct. So, you should not go for over generalization of theory into practice, because depending upon the nature of organization, the characteristics and the environment that it is facing, the systems and practices that it has to adapt has to be different in order to become a learning organization, right. And if you look at the actual outcome that is supposed to be there, in case of learning organization, you really see the changes there. Okay. And here you try to find out okay, what are the potential behavioral changes that is likely to happen if these kind of systems and processes are adapting. So, one is the process, the other is the outcome, right. And if you look at the relationship between learning and performance, in case of organizational learning it would be positive or negative, and learning organization it has to be positive, because if there is no change in behavior and performance, then the organization cannot be called a learning organization. Okay. So, based on this criteria we try to understand the dichotomy between organizational learning and learning organization. Now, we are moving further to discuss some other issues and try to define what learning organization is actually. That is what I was trying to focus upon. The learning company or an organization is not a defined end state, it could be a intermediate state, okay, because you need to continuously improve and innovate yourself in order to remain as a learning organization, and that is the point which I was trying to emphasize upon. Okay. So, ultimately it is the journey, not the destination, right. And there is a author who says that we are all in the process of becoming, that is learning. Okay. So, the idea is that you need to continuously learn. When at the individual level also we try to continuously upgrade our knowledge, right, our experiences, our skills. So, with that we remain viable, right. The similar thing can be said about the organization. So, organizations are also in the process of becoming, trying to be more efficient day by day, try to improve their systems and processes, try to be more productive and innovative, right. So, the moment you stop, you will not be called a learning organization, right. Moving to the next statement. So, organizations that enhance learning commit to an ongoing process. So, it is a cyclical process where you are going to continuously improve and innovate ourselves, and that is why it is an ongoing or a cyclical process, and right. Moving to next statement. Okay. Once you have reached to a particular stage or you have achieved your goals and objectives, you are not going to stop. It means it would be a contradiction in terms to say we are now a learning organization, we got the plaque on the wall. No. If you look at the top performing companies, the rank keep on changing, right. So, once you have reached a milestone, then you look for what to the next, what is next, what would be your next project, what would be your next system and process that you want to innovate, okay, where you want to improve, and that is how you continuously go on and doing them, right, and that is where you are going to be called a learning organization, right. So, this has been taken from Huff, who talked about how we can propagate an organization to become a learning organization, and then we are moving further and we are going to talk about another author who has done a lot of work especially on learning organization, that is Garvin, and he said that a learning organization achieves continuous improvement through organizational learning. So, what he suggests that organizational learning could be a process through which you are going to be called a learning organization, or you can improve your systems and processes to become a learning organization. Moving further, if you look at this, it means that you need to transfer your knowledge and modify your behavior to reflect it, and finally, as a whole must learn in order to manage change and ensure sustainability. So, the issue here is that if you are going to perform well on a sustainable basis, only then you try to remain a learning organization. Okay. And for that you have to see that how you are going to make use of knowledge, transfer it, modify it in order to change behavior, and that has to be reflected in the performance and the behavior of the people, right. So, what Garvin said is that there are other steps that other concepts that is to be looked into. So, somebody say that it is an abstraction, okay. It is something that is not available in the concrete form, but this is a misnomer, it is not so, because you can see organizations continuously flourishing, developing, trying to innovate their products and processes, and they have been very successful in the market. So, it is neither an abstract or Pandit concepts, okay, but it has been introduced actually to see that how you can compete on a regular basis and on a sustainable basis, that is what I can say. And it is possible only when you are going to responsive to the forces in the environments, you develop yourself, you create atrophy, right, not negative atrophy, positive atrophy, and then you see that how you have developed a system of learning, that is what we call supply chain learning. Okay. It means that people are going to continuously learn, and that is where you have a role from the HRD, that they have to ensure that the supply chain of learning mechanism continues to be there. Okay. So, that people are going to be excellent, bright and successful in order to ensure that they are able to respond to the changes to the environment and the development that is happening there. Okay. And then you are going to create atrophy, that is a negative word, and then you are not going to sustain the market, and that is why you will find that lot of organizations which have been doing very well in the past does not exist today, because they have not been able to continuously improve and innovate themselves, right. So, this is what this is statement from Nixon. He says that the essence of organizational learning is the organization's ability to use amazing mental capacity of all its members to create the kind of processes that it will improve on its own. So, he is emphasizing on the processes that we use to learn as an organization to increase the capacity of the people, and that is how you are going to use certain processes, okay, for improvement, right. And the statement is there from him only, that he says the organizations where people continuously expand their capacity to create the results they truly desire. It means that people have to be continuously improving their competencies to create or add value to the organization. Okay. So, they have to be creative, they have to be innovative, right. So, and this collective aspiration, which is part of organizational learning, okay, is going to be free, and where people are continually learning to learn together. Okay. So, when it comes to individual learning, it is not only individual learning, but it is also related to collective learning, okay, which is a process in organizational learning, and that is how you are trying to be more creative in the process to become a learning organization. So, after this definition of how we are going to move to from organizational learning to learning organization, we try to define something that is related to learning organization. Which organization becomes a learning organization? Okay. An organization is able to adapt and compete at low cost through learning. So, you learn that how you can compete in the market by adopting a strategy, that is low cost leadership, right. You will find many examples here, okay, like some of the airlines, some of the say you will find not only airlines, but other industries also, not only in aviation, in communication industries you will find that since they have engaged in low cost leadership, they have been able to capture the market and continuously growing and developing. Okay. Irrespective of the field, you will find that those who are going to provide goods and services at low cost, they have been able to achieve success in the long run, right, provided they are able to do it on a continuous basis, right. Okay. One example that I can give here in a Western example is Southwest Airlines. Since last 40 years, it has never lost. It has been continuously making profits. It is a low cost cheap airline. okay, and it is one of the best service company in the world. Okay. In India, you will also find these kind of examples, which are flourishing on low cost leadership, right. Some of the airlines like SpiceJet, Go Indigo, or some of the food outlets like Big Bazaar. Okay. So, they have been trying to do well and continuously trying to change systems and processes to remain a low cost leadership, otherwise it is not possible for them to grow and develop. Okay. So, it is a multi-level concept. Okay. It could learning at the individual level, group level and organization level, that might happens. Okay. And then you have a learning culture in order to become a learning organization. Okay. And then you also have set of supportive systems and practices in the form of HRM policies, which is going to create a learning organization. Right. Moving to the next part related to characteristics of the learning organizations, that you have to go for some kind of change in the structure and processes, okay, trade-offs in the organizational design. Okay. So, you have to see that what kind of systems and processes you are going to adopt, which is going to be more dynamic in nature, where you will find that there is a better interaction, coordination and integration of activities along the structure of the organization, that is more important. So, you go for restructuring your organization. Okay. And you also find that what kind of things are possible in terms of doing certain things through standard operating processes, okay, where you are going for certain adjustments, accordingly you are going for integration coordination of the activities, or whether you are going for some kind of flexible arrangements in the system for innovation, because you know that one organization you can adopt certain processes which is going to be mechanical in nature, but while certain processes could be organic. For example, say manufacturing system could be standardized. Okay. But at the same time, if you look at an R&D system, it could be organic in nature, okay, which allows you to have more flexibility, better adjustments across people, right. Then you have to see that how you are going to make use of skills of the people. Okay. So, the idea is that you are going to deal with employee participation, okay, the extent to which people are going to be party to it, right, especially when it comes to R&D or innovation, and make sure that the potential conflict of interest does not happen. Okay. So, you need to say that when people are going to be innovative and try to continuously improve products and processes, it is facilitated, right. So, you also need to create certain enablers, and that is where you have a role in HRD professionals, right. You examine the socio-economic characteristics, you see that how you are going to develop soft skills, behavioral skills. You have to build up group processes, are you going for team building exercises, you make sure that people are more focused so far as trying to see that how they can go for customer delight or customer satisfaction, and make sure that you have a system and process which is very objective, fair and just and transparent as well, right. So, these kind of things are going to create learning organizations. Okay. So, it has been identified as a model of strategic change, where everyone is engaged in identifying and solving problems. It means that everyone is going to be innovative in the process, right, and that is how organization is going to continuously change, experiment and improve, and this results in increasing its capacity to grow and achieve its purpose, and this has to happen on a regular basis. Then only an organization could be called a learning organization, right. There is a Rowden on learning organization strategic change. So, a learning company is an organization that facilitates the learning of all its members and continuously transform itself. So, from individual to organizational learning, and then you move to become a learning organization, right. That is statement from Pedler, okay, who is an authority on learning organization. Now, the question that why should an organization become a learning organization, right. See, if you are not going to learn on a continuous basis, what will happen? You will perish. You will lose your identity and existence in the market. Okay. You may be a top performing company, but tomorrow you may not be there in the market. So, it is necessary to go for continuous changes, right. So, unless you learn, you cannot go for changes, right. Similarly, you cannot achieve competitive advantage. Okay. If you want to remain ahead of the competitors, then you have to offer new products, new services, you have to re-engineer systems, structure, processes and cultures. So, if you are not going for that, probably you are going to stay, you will lag behind compared to your competitors. Similarly, if you are not going to change at the rate at which other organizations are changing, say for example, the product life cycle of your competitor of a particular product which you are also doing, is say 6 months, but you are going to bring a competitive product in 1 year. So, your rate of change is much higher compared to your competitors, then how can you expect success, right. Now, if you look at the communication market, most of these mobile phone companies are trying to bring a new product every year. So, if you are not going to follow them in terms of your R&D, innovative capacity, and if you are not going to continuously improve and innovate and come out with new systems and processes, how are you going to survive in the market? And that is where you have to increase the rate of the change. You need to bring the product life cycle shorter and shorter to the extent possible, and then you have to be more creative, and that is possible provided you are trained in how to become creative, how you are going to bring innovation in systems and processes, products and services, and that is where an HRD also has a very important role to play, that you are supposed to facilitate the process of creativity and innovation by creating enabling systems, having an HR systems which is supportive in nature, and also offering training and development interventions. So, that learning happens at all levels in the organization. So, you need to plan interventions not only at the individual and group level, but also you can go for organizational interventions, okay, for development and change of the organization. So, some of the characteristics is that yes, it provides learning opportunities and you use learning to reach their goals. Then you also link individual with organizational performance in the process, individual to group to organization, and then becoming a learning organization. And that also helps you to see that how people are going to share their knowledge, are ready to take risks, okay, for growth and development. Okay. And these are some of the characteristics of a learning organization. Okay. And then you go and create creative tension as a source of energy. You try to destabilize things in terms of systems, structures and processes, and that would help you to become a learning organization, right. So, you try to bring about a change, okay, and once you communicate that, it would create tension, and then people will try to find out that what is the most effective way to handle this, how it can make the system better. The best example I can give you at a national level, you see that government has recently introduced that and reformed the tax system, direct tax system, whatever it is. Okay. So, instead of having so many taxes, now we are going to bring one tax. So, it is going to, we are trying to create a more effective transparent system using a technology enabler, which is not only going to save time of people, it is going to be more creative and effective, but it is going to save lot of revenue for the people, right, and the businesses. So, the idea is that you create this tension in the mind of the people, and then you try to see what could be the best solution possible, and that is where people are going to be creative. Okay. And then continuously aware and interact with their environment, that is also very important. It means you need to continuously scan the environment to see what is happening, and accordingly you try to improve and improvise upon them. Now, I am going to discuss some of the myths related to learning, which is called learning disabilities. Okay. Like I am the position, the enemy is out there, illusion of taking charge, fixing on events, okay, delusion of learning from experiences, and myth of management teams. So, we will take up one by one, though the essence of this is there. It means first one is related to responsibility, enemies out there means that when something goes wrong, you blame it to others. Okay. Illusion of taking charge is saying that if you are able to do it, you are going to win, right, shoot and aim. So, you to fix off events, it means you have to try to possibly relate with the event cause and effect in a cause and effect relationship, and you think that people learn only from the experiences, and finally you think that if nothing will happen, management is going to save us. No, these are some of the myths or disabilities related to the learning process. So, we will try to discuss it one by one. For example, one is I am my position. This probably presents a myopic or non-systematic view of the organization, okay, and that is where it is related to responsibility. The next one, the enemy is out there, it comes from the top, okay, especially when combined with small group identification. Everyone is trying to protect itself, right. So, we protect ourselves and have a narrow sense of self identification. Others screw up and we have to protect ourselves. It means that you try to blame others, not yourself, if something goes wrong. It means you are not responsible for that, but somebody else is there. Then the third level, the illusion of taking charge. Okay. When you say that you are going to be proactive, it does not mean that you are going to fight the enemies. Okay. So, you have to have a proactive orientation. It comes from how our own actions contribute to the problems, and that is more important. So, this is also a myth, or we call a disability. Okay. Fixing arguments, do not try to examine cause and effect relationship in everything, okay. Not necessary. Okay. So, we see events as having one or two causes, rather than seeing most problems as coming out from our processes that is there. Then finally, we have the parable of boiled frog. Okay. You know about this parable? If you put a frog in a water can and if you heat it up, what will happen? Okay. There are two possibilities. If you put in a boiled water, it would simply jump, right. But if you keep it in a tin and start heating gradually, then to the extent you would try to tolerate and adjust it to the changes that is happening in the water. Once it moves to beyond a certain level and its tolerance level goes off, then probably he will try to make certain actions. So, now the question is that which process you want to adopt. Okay. If something happens, you try to react to it, or then you try to see that whether the threat is coming gradually to you or not. Because suppose the water is going up, okay, heating up. So, you think that okay, you can still manage the things, there is no point, okay, to get disturbed, or it is not creating a threat. So, the threat is created only when you reach to a certain level where things does not become is not manageable, and then only you try to react to it. Okay. So, it is better to ensure that you try to see the problem as and when it comes in a gradual way, so that you are able to be more proactive. Okay. Do not try to be reactive. The idea is that try to sense what is happening, okay, and how it is going to affect certain things. So, look at those processes which are not good, and whether there is a need to change the process, unless these processes become cumbersome and become a burden on you, right. Look at the systems and processes in the organizations and try to find out and see whether this parable is correct or not. Okay. Moving to the next one, that is the illusion of learning from experiences. Okay. Most of us say that okay, experience is the best teacher. It may be partially true, okay, but when it comes to taking decisions or bringing about certain changes across systems, okay, it may take a longer time, and then you have to see what kind of systems processes you are going to adopt. So, it is not only experiences that is going to be there, but you have to see that how it is going to take shape, right, that is more important. So, you learning from experiences may be one thing, but you also need to look at other things which is going to help you in the process, and then coming to the management teams. Okay. Management teams mean that not everybody is going to work at its best, okay, and it says that it is going to create some kind of incompetence in the skill, because you will find that some people are working, some people are not working. Okay. So, those who are working, they keep on learning, and those who are not doing anything, they become incompetent in the process. So, you need to ensure that everybody is trying to participate in the process, okay, so that you are not going to create any kind of incompetence among the people. Okay. So, otherwise, what will happen? They would stop learning new things, right. So, you need to create a dialogue, an interaction among the people to see that what needs to be done, and let everybody participate in the process. Okay. These are some of the myths that I wanted to discuss with you, okay, relate to this one. Now, what are the problems with learning organization? So, though we have talked about a lot, and we say that it is something that is good, and if you become a learning organization, then you are effective, you perform well, and these kind of things. Okay. If you are not going to implement to be, your learning processes to become a learning organization with care and due consideration, probably you will not be there, right. So, you cannot be a learning organization. So, you do not go in a haste, okay, and be careful when you look into the implications of becoming an organizations, and what are the objectives that you have in mind in terms of changing certain things, systems, processes, offering new products and services, or whatever it is, and accordingly you decide what is to be done, and successfully those adopt those systems and processes which is going to be good. Otherwise, it is going to be either management fed, and you have lot of fads in the literature in the management, and it could be either fed, and then it is not going to work effectively. And it is not a panacea for organizations. It means you think that it is some kind of medicine which is going to help to cure our problems. No. and do not use it in times of crisis, or do not think that it is an effort to progress yourself, right. Otherwise, you have to develop a feedback system. Remember we talked about single loop, double loop and triple loop. Single loop, there is no feedback system is here. Okay. Double loop, you try to create a feedback system. In triple loop, you try to create a feedback system for everything, starting with input, process and output, to ensure that you are able to find out what is happening and whether it could be done in the right way or not, right. And it is not a quick fix which can be achieved by sending all managers on this training course on learning organization, and then your organization is going to be learning organization. It is a process, systems and process to be adopted with care to ensure that your organization moves to this direction. And finally, I am going to quote from Indian organizations, and you can see that whether they are really moving towards learning organization or not. Mission statement of L&T says that yes, we foster a spirit of entrepreneurial leadership and be a vibrant learning organization. TCS says that yes, we are a learning organization. The moment someone says that he has stopped learning, it means that there is a trouble, right. Learning is not a luxury, it is how companies discover their future. Shell. So, these statements shows the importance of being a learning organization on a continuous basis, right. So, you need to create systems, mechanism and process, right, in order to become a learning organization, and that is what is very, very important. So, it requires trust, consistency, attitude of inquiry, good communication, concern for interdependence and these kind of things, and then it should have systems and processes in place, and then you continuously enhance your capacity at the individual and the group level. So, that collectively it becomes an organizational learning process, okay, to become a learning organization, right. Now, I am giving some examples of the Indian companies to explain you this. Okay. Those who have been gone for innovation, continuous improvement, they are on this side, okay, and those who have not gone for that on this side. Okay. They have not gone for what you call continuous improvement in the systems and processes, products and services. So, you will not find them today. Okay. Many of them have already lost, are in the process of losing out, right. Many of them are closed or surviving on government support somehow. Okay. But if you look at these organizations, you will find that many of them have been flourishing on a sustainable basis, and that is how they have been trying to offer good products and services. Look at say for example, HMT and Timex. At one time rival, HMT was treated as one of the best watches, but now you will not find them in the market. Timex has overtaken it. Similarly, about other companies also. So, you will see that those organizations which have been trying to continuously improve and innovate themselves have been doing better in the long run, right. Thank you very much.